Hamza, we're
going
live.
So guys, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hamza and I will be chairing this evening's debate with the title or the motion, "This House believes citizens should need to take a test before being allowed to vote." Now, we live in a world where elections play a central role in politics, and the things that people vote for can have a profound impact on the way that things operate in the country. We only need to look to the UK and the USA to see how there are examples of where certain elections, can have really big consequences on the way that our country operates for the next 5 to 6 years. And I suppose that's challenging people to ask, what makes a citizen qualified for voting? Should the citizen need to show that they have a certain awareness about politics, or would this be something that, encourages apathy and discourages voting? These are the questions which we are going to be addressing in this evening's debate. On the proposition team, we have Onyinye, who will be delivering her first speech. The second speech will come from Amber, and the third speech will come from Rebecca. The opposition side, Michelle Angel will be giving the first speech, Brandon will be given the second, and Claire will be given the third. There will be a chance for the audience to speak, so please feel free to ask questions when we come to you. And without further ado, I would like to kick off this evening's debate by turning to the first proposition speaker, Onyinye. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. When you're ready, Onyinye.
This House believes that citizens should have to take a test before being allowed to vote. By this motion, we mean a test to examine their political knowledge and to have a basic understanding of political systems. This will be beneficial for citizens in order to vote in general elections and referendums. The exam will take place online and will be a timed assessment of approximately 30 minutes each. Candidates will be required to follow a series of multiple choice questions in the exam. The exam will be free of charge and conducted within a highly confidential setting. There will also be revision material and online lessons which will teach people all about the voting processes, what a democracy is, the range of political parties available within the UK, and as well as political policies. They will also gain further understanding and knowledge about the MPs who they can vote for. To pass this test, they will need a score of 90%. If you do not achieve this, then you will have an opportunity to take the test again.
Are there any points of information from the other speakers?
Points of information.
Go
ahead, Claire.
Reject.
I accept.
Accept.
You said about the exam that people could possibly gain things from the exam, like learning more about their MPs. How exactly are they supposed to learn anything if it's a test? That would mean that they have to have learned the information beforehand before taking the exam. So I would like it if you explain that further.
As I said in my speech, there will be revision lessons where they can learn about the MPs they can vote for. They will learn about policies, and they will learn about the rules in which they need to vote.
Points of information.
Accepted or rejected, Onyinye?
I accept.
Accepted.
You said the motion only clearly states that this House believes that we should take tests to see whether you're fit to vote.
Stop the point of information, please. Protected time. Onyinye, you can respond.
Pardon? I didn't hear what she said.
Well, you're in protected time now, so I guess if you want to round off.
I was done.
Thank you very much for that wonderful speech, Onyinye. So we have heard from the first speaker of the proposition. Very interesting definition of the motion taken. We will now move over to the first speaker of the opposition, Michelle Angel. When you're ready, please begin your speech. Thank you very much.
This House believes people should have to test. This House opposes the motion that people must take a test in order to vote. The right to vote is given to people over 18. In an equal society, how can people be asked to take a test when people have different levels of qualifications? Taking a test infers some sort of background knowledge must be known, which must be educated to the members of the public in order to vote. Taking a test could discourage people from voting if the test requires to be passed, and if the test being failed means that a member of public is not allowed to vote. This goes against an equal society, and that voting and that this goes against an equal society, and this allows people to have the same equal opportunity to vote, which could mean that the actual intention of voting would not be achieved as the scores and statistics needed in order for decisions to go into place and into order would not work as the democratic views have not been correctly voiced and implemented as it should be. Taking a test would also mean that taking a test would also
Deep breath, speaker. You continue in your own pace, no rush. Detected time again. 30 seconds.
Taking a test would also mean that it would be an unfair opportunity, and if the test is
Thank you, speaker. We've got to wrap it up. Very good, very good. Well done. So we've had the first speaker of the proposition, and we have had the first speaker of the opposition. Motions have been defined and criticised. We are now going to move on to the second speaker of the opposition. Amber, when you're ready, please begin your speech.
I agree with the motion that citizens should have to take a test before voting. People's votes may often be uninformed and include underlying biases. Firstly, they may vote for what they think a party has historically stood for. An example is Labour for the working man and Conservative for the middle to upper classes. A test would educate voters on both parties' current manifestos, leading to less biased voting. In fact, after preparing for the test, some voters may change their mind based on the politician's true intentions. Secondly, some votes may be influenced by fake news. A test would eradicate the influence of fake news. Real and true information would be made available to the voters before casting their votes. Lastly, voters who simply vote because of whim would be removed from the voting process. The worry of falling numbers in the ballot box is often a concern at elections. Preparation for a current affair test could begin from when the students are in school. We could build the knowledge base into such classes as citizenship, making students engaged and aware of politics from a young age. The implementation of a test could see rising numbers of people voting. A current affairs test would lay the responsibility and onus on political parties to ensure their manifestos were more plain-speaking in order to engage the public. The test would give voters greater transparency. Point of information. Into
accepted or rejected, Amber?
Accepted. I would like to ask a question. That was it. What about the people who are less advantaged? And this would take a lot of money, wouldn't it? What about all the other problems, like life crime is an epidemic? The funding that will go into this, couldn't it be used for more important things? Thank you.
Well, I think that voting is an important thing, because voting would allow you to vote for someone who would take care of such problems. And if you're not voting for the right candidate, they will ignore these problems, which you explained.
Point of information.
Protected time has just finished, Michelle Angel. I'm very, very sorry about that. Yeah, Lindsay, you're muted there though. Amber, continue when you're ready.
Okay. A current affairs test would lay the responsibility and onus on political parties to ensure their manifestos were more plain-speaking in order to engage the public. The test would give voters great transparency into their party's positions. A test would help people build one's confidence in their own voting ability.
Please begin to wrap the speech up.
Okay. In summary, we must appreciate that voting is not only a right, it is also a responsibility and a privilege. A test would educate the uninformed, boost voters' confidence in their own ability, require greater clarity from politicians, and increase numbers of people voting.
Thank you very much, Speaker. That was good. That was good. Thank you very much. We've now heard from the first speaker from the proposition, the first from the opposition, the second from the proposition, and now moving swiftly to the second speaker of the opposition. Brandon, when you're ready, please begin your speech. Thank you very much.
This House believes that civilians should not have to take a test to vote, as voting is a civil right, and people may have the right to say what they think, and may feel discouraged or discriminated if not allowed to express their views and emotions. In addition, this could be a huge expense for the taxpayer to fund the test to vote. We should also consider how the test would be delivered. Will it be fair? Will people be discriminated against? 18 plus, men and women, all races, cultures, and religions should have the right to take the test and to take part without having a test. I'm finished.
Would anyone like to make a point of information? I'll give another 5 seconds if the other team would like to challenge the points that have been made. If not, we're going to move on to the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much for your speech, Brandon.
Thank you for your speech.
Right, so we have heard from both sides now. We have a definition, which is rather specific. So what a test that teaches a basic understanding of politics. It will be done online. It will be multiple choice, and it will be for referendums and general elections. However, there is some kind of controversy as to, how much this should be allowed for votes and whether they're right or not. So we're going to move to the floor now to ask if anyone from the floor would like to make any points or would like to deliver a short speech. You can ask individual speakers to challenge them on a point they've made. You could ask a side, and then one of the speakers from that side will have to respond. Or you could just make a more general speech or point that you would like to make, if that's easier for you. I want to encourage summary speakers, Rebecca and Claire, to listen very carefully. You have the chance to respond to any of the points that have been made. So moving to the floor now. May I ask anyone from the floor to, or if anyone from the floor would like to ask a question or make a speech? Kiana?
Please, can I ask a question?
Oh, DJ. Okay, yeah, DJ. We'll take DJ first. Could you just introduce yourself? And
by the way, just so you all know, I will allocate 7 minutes to this, 5 minutes to this, Hamza.
Yep. So we'll cut you off if your speech becomes too long, and but yeah, exactly. It won't go on forever, but try and keep your points concise. Yep. Introduce yourself and what you believe or what you think when you're ready.
Okay. My name is DJ, and I just want to ask a short question for the proposition. So my question is that could anybody from any background, so they don't have any A's in many tests, they fail their test, could they just take the test normally and not expect to take more tests again to take that exact test?
That's a good question. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we'll give the proposition a chance to respond to that now. Who from the proposition would like to respond? Amber, please.
So yes, people of all backgrounds will be able to take the test. It is only that they have to pass with a certain percentage, and they are able to retake the test if not doing so well on the first test.
So we've narrowed down the definition a little bit more. You are allowed to retake. Does anyone else have a point they would like to make or a question they would like to ask? Kiana, yes, when you're ready.
My name is Kiana, and I would like to ask for the proposition: what are the repercussions if a citizen doesn't pass?
Good question. Who would like to answer that question? Anaya, please, when you're ready.
This is kind of like the previous point. If you don't pass the test, you are able to retake it, and with more like revision material to use and more explaining if needed.
Thank you very much.
Able to retake the test if you don't pass first time.
Thank you.
So would the purpose of the test to see if you are eligible to vote or to test your knowledge?
Good question.
I don't think that should be responded to now. I think our summary speaker should be able to answer that because it's not an ongoing conversation.
Good question. Summary speakers, please respond to some of these and your points. Good point. Thank you. Any other questions? I have one for the opposition. If not, but yeah, Amari.
I think Amari wanted to ask a question.
Amari, when you're ready, just turn your camera on, your mic on.
Oh, I have a question for Naya. When you're retaking a test, if you don't pass the first time, wouldn't it cost a bit more, and would it waste some costly material in some kind or as such?
Good question. I'm gonna let the okay, Anaya, go on. You can you're not a summary speaker, and I'll let you answer that quickly. Very quickly, please.
It wouldn't be so much cost effective because you would only be able to retake the test within the time before the election. So while the time up to the election, there would always be like tests going on in test centers. So you'll just be able to like book a slot and then you'll be able to do it on a computer. So it wouldn't be so much cost effective because you're reusing the same computer.
Thank you, Anaya. Brandon, you're a speaker. It's not conventional that you would be allowed to ask a question right now. But your opposition, so I'm going to ask you a question because it's actually related to the point that you were making, and you can perhaps answer this question and make the point you were going to make very quickly before we move on to the summary speakers. Now you and the opposition side, and again, summary speaker can answer this, talked a lot about how voting is a civil right, and how we should give it to all citizens because it is their right. And I was just thinking, if that's your reasoning here, how far do you think we should allow under 16s to vote? And do you not think that by that reasoning, you would also or be able to make an argument for allowing 11, 12, and maybe even people younger than that to vote because they are citizens, as you said, and I don't see why not allowing citizens of that age could be justified if we're saying that the idea is that voting is a civil right. Brandon, you can respond to that quickly and make your point that you'd like to make very quickly. Please keep it concise because your summary speaker's got to really answer most of this stuff.
Well, judging from what you said, you know, basically, from what you said, I would say that you'd have to have a clear understanding in order to, let's say, it is a civil right. You do have a right to say what you think, but you have to have enough experience and a clear understanding because you can't just let anyone vote. So if you are, let's say, under 16 and you have a clear understanding and what you're saying is valuable, then I don't understand why you can't be able to vote, because if you have enough experience and what you're saying is eligible, acceptable, then I think, yeah, it's reasonable for you to vote.
Thank you, Brandon. I'm going to move to any questions from the floor now. Any last questions before we move to summary speakers? Does anyone else in the audience want to make a point, ask a question, or make a mini speech of sort?
Yeah.
Mario, yep, go on.
What if a random, I don't know, child puts in random answers and gets them all correct? Would they be able to still be able to vote?
Please, no one answer that now. That's going to come to your summary speaker. And actually, both summary speakers could answer that question in various forms. Final call out for any last questions, speeches. Anyone in the audience, would you like to make a point or ask a question? And then we're going to move to summary speakers. Okay, well, oh, sorry, Kiana, yes.
I have another question for the proposition.
Go ahead.
Anaya said that if they don't pass the first test, they can take a second test. But what would happen what would they have to pass the second test that they take?
Good question. And again, I'm not going to let you respond to that. Your summary speaker should be responding to these questions. So Rebecca, you should be responding to Thank you. Right now, again, one last call for questions. This is your last chance to speak, guys.
We're out of time for the questions. I think we can move on to our summary speakers now.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you so much. So we've had a chance to hear from the floor. There is no protected time for summary speakers because you're not allowed to make points of information. The summary speakers flip. So we're going to begin with the first speaker of the opposition, which is Claire. When you're ready, please begin your speech. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. I am the summary speaker for Team Opposition, and I'd firstly like to start with rebutting some of the opposition's points. You've illustrated a very idyllic picture. People taking tests so that we know their ideas about our country and all of that. And that's all good and well, but you fail to look at the bigger picture. As people have said various times, what about the cost? People, do we really want to pay our taxes? I mean, life is hard enough. We have mums, we have dads, we have people from all different walks of life. Do they really want to take the time to go? And it's hard enough to get up to vote at a certain place at a certain time. Do they really want to take a test just so they can vote? As Michelle has said, what about democracy? What about their right to vote? Why do they need to be a test to show that they are patriotic? Why can't they be patriotic to their country without taking a test? It's just ridiculous. I mean, what about old people? What about people that don't have access to technology? What are they going to do? You clearly illustrated that your test would be on a computer. You didn't say there would be test centers. You just said they would have access to a computer. What about those who don't have access to technology, computers or the internet? What are they going to do? How are they going to show that they actually care about what goes on in their country and who is representing them? What about cheating? Couldn't people cheat? Couldn't people cheat and put answers that aren't valid in their tests? That is still a big possibility. So people put in all their time and effort just so people can cheat, even if it's on a small scale. It's just still unacceptable. And now I'd like to move to some of my other team's point. I've already mentioned democracy. Then I'd like to move on to the floor question. I think one of the floor question was all people from I think Brandon already answered it, but I'm just going to revisit it. I think it was if people show a good understanding, even if they're from a young age, would they still have the right to vote? And he already said if they have a good knowledge, then they should have the right to vote, because if it doesn't matter, people can still be 30 years old and they can still show a sense of irresponsibility. So yes, if they do have a knowledge of voting, they could be able to vote. But I don't think that you should be able to take a test. And they also failed to
10 seconds left.
And they also failed to illustrate people with disabilities, who might find it difficult to get out of their house, like physical disabilities in the morning. So thank you for listening to my speech.
Thank you very much for that speech, Claire. That was very, very interesting. We're now going to move to the final speaker, the summary speaker of the proposition. Rebecca, to wrap things up, please begin your speech when you're ready. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Rebecca, and I will be speaking for the proposition as a summary speaker. In conclusion of all these previous points made by my teammates, this House believes that a test should be taken to be able to vote. This test will be timed and online as already been said previously. If the test is failed, one of the questions from the floor was, if you keep on failing, are you able to keep on retaking the test? Yes, as you can vote countless amounts of times, we still believe that everyone's voice should be heard. It doesn't change that. You will have the chance to take it again as many times as needed, as it's a free test, as mentioned by Anea. The test is free, and if, as Amber said, if it is taught to us by a young age, while we're in school, then we will already know how and why the MPs or politicians and what their aim is or their goal for the country is, and we will be able to see through the lies that they might mention. The normal voting age is 16 years old. We will be leaving it at that age. So if a child approaches the test, we will not accept that age. That's why this House believes that you should have to take a test to be able to vote.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. That was a very, very high quality debate from all of you. We now will turn to the floor for a vote. So we have 6 speakers, we have 6 members of the floor, and everyone on the floor should be able to put a vote into the chat. You can either say for, you can either vote for the proposition or the opposition. You only get 1 vote, and once you put it in the chat, I'm going to take the first vote that you put in. So out of everyone else, we have Deborah, DJ, Gabriella, Kiana, Marcia, Omari. Actually, we have a few people who haven't taken part in the debate. So if you could please begin putting your points and your votes into the group chat. And once we have the final results come back, I'm going to give a bit of feedback as to what went well, what could have gone better, and we will know who has won. So 1 vote for the opposition, 2 votes for the opposition. 3 votes for the opposition. 4 votes for the opposition. So I think that even though I will wait for the final votes to come in, but I think that tips us over the line. Oh, opposition. Right, interesting. So we have 4 votes. Brandon, I think. Oh, Brandon, you had a question. Sorry, yeah. 1 second. We're going to come to questions at the end. I'm just going to wrap things up. I think that does it. I think the opposition have won by 5 votes, and I'm going to count the last one as an abstain. So a very big round of applause to the opposition. Very good debate, guys. Very high caliber. Lynn, do you want to say something?
So to all of our viewers on YouTube, parents, friends, supporters, I just want to say how massively proud I am of every single speaker today, from the floor questions to those of you who took part in the debate. The quality was outstanding. Just to remind parents, viewers, 8 weeks ago, these young people could not do this because they didn't know how to, not because they didn't have the ability, but because for all of them, debating in this way was a very new thing. To be able to pick up this skill at this level is absolutely outstanding. And I see lawyers, I see politicians, I see future world leaders in this group of people, and I hope that they continue to debate, and I hope that they debate with you at the dining table or when you're watching the television or when you're watching the news. From myself and Hamza, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone for the support. The debating club will be continuing. So we hope to see some familiar faces and some new faces. Everyone here wins a certificate, and we're going to do the feedback offline. So I'm going to stop the YouTube stream now, just so we can have a really nice intimate chat with the kids and let them know what's happening next. But thank you to everyone, and brilliant speeches. I'm not usually one to say everyone is a winner because I don't believe in that philosophy. But on this occasion, all of you are winners because you've won a new skill that will open so many doors for you. So thank you.
Very well done, guys. Honestly, that was excellent. Excellent. High caliber. Just let me know when you're ready